Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everybody, to episode, is it 22 or is it 23?
It says 22, but I think we're falling behind. I don't remember 22. I would remember 22. You know why? Because those were my high school glory days. That was my number in high school, 22.
Put me in, coach. We would have won states if coach had just put me in.
Yeah. Actually, I got declared ineligible right before the first game. So I practiced all the year before, all summer long. And then right before the first game, I became ineligible.
Why? What happened?
Well, in Texas, they have very strict recruiting rules. And because I didn't have any parents, technically they didn't have parents who lived in the district. So, they had that rule so that you couldn't play,
for another team,
another school away from where you live. So the team, even though it was only 1A, which was the smallest 11-man team, they were, the year before I went to Texas, they were state champs.
Wow.
And they actually went back to the state championship game the next year, but lost. See, so
we made it to the semifinals, I guess, the game before, when I was a senior, was I a junior? I forget. We were good. My freshman year, obviously I played freshman football, but the varsity team sucked. Then we got a new coach, and forget if that was my sophomore year or my junior year. But for 2 or 3 of those years, we got this new coach in, Coach Smith, and we were good. We went to the playoffs every year. And then the year after I graduated, they went to, I think, the state final game and lost.
Yeah. I remember it was a lot of fun. We would get like these charter buses. Now, you got to remember, this is such a rural community where, like, China Spring didn't even have... like a main street or anything like that. I don't even know if the town had a stoplight. So it was quite an experience for me coming from, New York and living in those areas. And every time we'd play a team, it would be driving to a whole other city or a town.
Yeah,
really.
Texas is huge.
Yeah.
Here, like, there's a high school down the street over here,
right.
And then up the road right here is a whole nother town with a different high school, Hazlitt or whatever is right
2:30, you can't move around these parts.
Oh, it's
between
insane.
The junior high school, the high school, the grade school kids. It's a nightmare. You think rush hour was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
enough with the
back to the podcast.
22.
Man, what do you know? We've been going for 45 minutes already. Let's get right into it. Let's get into the beer of the week.
All right. We got an Irish import today. McNutty, Macadamia Nut Brown Ale.
We've had this out in the snow. If you're watching, well, right above my head, you can kind of see a little bit of snow out there.
Yeah.
But had these stuffed in the snowbank. Contains nuts.
Yeah, macadamia.
Now, there's probably some Irish way to say this.
I was waiting for you to try and say it.
Loughgill.
Yeah.
Loughgill Brewery, Sligo, Ireland.
Yeah, I didn't know how to say any of those words.
I know we have a couple Irish listeners out there, so please let us know how you say that.
Yeah. Roasted, they roast the macadamia nuts in their own kitchen along with top quality malt hops for a rich, nutty flavor and luxurious dark brown color. I think I'm going to like this.
Luxurious. It's got a squirrel on it, too, which is very beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers.
I like this label. It's got some texture to it.
Yeah, good grip. It's good. Not nearly as cold as I thought it would be from sitting in the snow for like an hour.
Yeah.
And it was in the fridge all day.
Well, what are we going to do?
Yeah, man, it's a tough life.
We'll get back to this later on. Right now, it's your turn for Tool of the Week.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I already got lost track what the hell we were doing.
just one sip in. That's what happened. You know, Jeff turned 32 over the weekends.
Yeah.
The gray cells start to diminish.
Man, I found this back hair like coming off my shoulder last night. That is like, it's white.
Yeah, well, white hair, that's all part of the look.
Yeah.
I used to have black hair.
Yeah, my beard. I'm starting to get a lot of gray in my beard. Anyway, so for this week, I picked a little something that I've been wanting to get for a long time and finally got about a week ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, courtesy of our buddy Manny. Sent us a nice little gift.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this from KC Tool. This is a little cross peen hammer from Picard, Picard, which is a German company. Has, you know, like looks like an ash handle, long, thin handle, and it's just a little, I don't even know how many ounces this is. I think it's only like 2 or 3 ounces with a, a flat face side, and then I guess this is the peen. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a chisel shape.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what you use that for, but I've been using this to adjust my spoke shave irons. I use it to tap in some T-nuts and some stuff, so it's just a nice little delicate hammer.
Yeah, you know I would go for that.
I mean,
I'm all about the finesse.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. You can choke up on it and you have a lot of control. Or, I mean, you get a lot of power out of a little thing like this. I guess
handle's nice and long.
Yeah, like you get, what is it? You get a lot of head speed with like a long handle, so like you can get a lot of power behind it if you needed it. I don't know. It's like you want to like go out and like crack open fossils with this backside.
It almost reminds me of like to do metal work, you know, some body work. Yep. You could tap out some dents and things with it.
Yeah, I know like they use like ball peen hammers and stuff for that. So it must be, I guess this is called a cross peen because it's just like looks like a blunt chisel.
It does, yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like that. Those are the kind of tools that after you've used them for a while, they just get better.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, the real reason I got it is to adjust the spoke shaves because you really just want to give a little tap on the blade to advance it because there's no like wheel adjustment like there is on a regular plane.
Right.
So you could tap the corners and put a little skew on it, and it's nice with a spoke shave to have like one side heavy and one side light, so you can do a finishing cut and
you need that metal head, not the plastic one.
Yeah, like a mallet doesn't work. Yeah. There's no finesse to that. Like this, you can really just tap and fine tune. I used it a bunch for that already, so it's one of those things where I'm sure I'm just going to continue to find. Yeah. This I could see being good for the even though we have the little tool, the sleeves for the shelf pins.
Oh yeah.
Even hitting the little tool.
Yeah.
Because this, I don't know what it is. It's easy in the hand. Like with just like a little movement of your wrist, you can really tap some stuff.
Looks like it's got good control. You know, it's got a small little head on it.
Yeah. And it's got a super long handle. Like the handle's like 13 or 14 inches long.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you hold it on the end, you can really feel that it provides just the right amount of...
like imagine doing that with the rubber mallet, even the little Simplex 30. Yeah. Shout out to the Simplex 30. I don't know. There's just something about it.
Yeah.
So if you have any need to adjust spoke shaves, or if you have Japanese style chisels, I was between like the Japanese little, I forget the name of it. They have a little hammer.
Right, for adjusting the plane.
Yeah, it doesn't have a peen on the back. It's just like a rectangular head with usually one face is flat and one is convex. I forget the name. Starts with a D, I think. Dogyu or something like that.
That sounds
I was
familiar.
between getting one of those and getting one of these, and I ended up going with this one. I'm totally happy with
choice.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a need for some sort of like finesse type of tool, that's really what it's for.
Yeah.
You know?
Tacks, stuff like that. It's almost like a tack hammer with no magnet or whatever.
Yeah, my uncles were upholsterers.
Yeah.
I grew up around those magnetic hammers.
Yeah.
As a kid, those were the coolest things. They would have the tacks in their mouth and they would just back and forth with the hammerhead.
Yeah. That was like the guys that used to do the lathe in the houses.
Oh, yeah.
They would just put them in their mouth And then a lot of those guys ended up with mouth cancer because the nails had, I don't know, lead in them or something. Yeah. Anyway, we'll have a link in the description as we always do. You can check it out. The Halder Picard little cross peen hammer. Yeah. Well, we're gonna go from the light and not serious to straight to the gripe of the week. You got a serious one this week? Yeah, it's serious, man. It's not petty. No, this is not petty. As Jeff alluded to, we had a good snowstorm here in the Northeast. We got off pretty easy compared to some neighboring towns. What'd we get? Maybe 10 inches? Yeah. Our buddy Tim up there in North Jersey, True Trade, got about 30 inches of snow. I think. Yeah. But this is my gripe. Get out there. Now, in New Jersey, they have these strict rules. You got to plow your sidewalks and access for mail and everything like that, which is only the right thing to do. Yeah. Otherwise, they'll give you a fine. Mm-hmm. So I do all that, and then they come and they plow the streets 3, 4, 5 times, which I guess is a good thing, but the apron in my driveway is about 4 feet deep in snow. And it's a block of ice. Yeah. It's impossible to get through because we have these, freeze thaw cycles where it just turns into a 4 foot wide iceberg at the edge of my driveway. Yeah, like I've tried to bust them up even with like a metal shovel, and it's hard. No, you can't. See, the problem is here we don't get that much snow, so they don't have like the infrastructure in place. But like places like upstate New York, they'll have one of those snowblower kind of trucks with a truck next to it or behind it, and it just dumps the snow into a dump truck, and then go dump it somewhere. Right here, they just pushing it right into everybody's property. Yeah, so the street I live on, we only have one parking space, so my wife always parks there. I park on the street. So I went out twice during this storm. Once, it started snowing Sunday night, maybe 5, 6 o'clock? Maybe, or maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah. So late afternoon, Sunday started snowing. Then Monday morning around 9 o'clock, I went outside. We had about 5 inches of snow at that point. So I shoveled the drive, around my wife's car, in the driveway, a little path, the side, the walkway up to the door, the porch, and like all the way around my truck. So it's completely clear. So you could walk. Yeah. Then I did that again at like 4 o'clock, which the bulk of the snow had fallen at that point. Yeah. So then I wake up, Tuesday morning, yesterday, and they had plowed like the one side of my truck. It plowed it completely in. So like you couldn't even get to the, but there's nothing you can do. I mean, I'll tell you, living in Brooklyn, they would plow, your car would disappear. You'd have to chip your car and try not to dent your car or scratch it. Yeah. I always manage to hit it with a shovel. Yeah. And I'm like, my truck, I just got that new truck. So that's my big gripe of the week. I mean, I dread it. I dread these snowstorms. I really hate it. Yeah. And there's no way around it. They have to plow the street, and they go about it the cheapest way possible, which is just blasting down the street and shooting that stuff 4 feet off to the side. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that gripe, but there you go. There's my gripe. We're going to get on to the questions of the week now. We got a good bit of questions this week. Yeah. This first one, I was surprised to see it's from somebody that's in a town real close. I mean, it's almost a neighboring town, Matawan, New Jersey. It's from Aaron Lyle. And he's asking, what was your first woodworking project you can remember? Well, I guess loosely defining woodworking, when I was a finish carpenter, I guess the first thing I ever did that even resembles woodworking is like, built-in shelving and stuff. Mm-hmm. So the first job I ever worked on, so as a finish carpenter, obviously I came in on this first job, and I was there for a good amount of time because, if you've ever worked on a custom home as a finish carpenter, you're there doing a lot of trim. We had all kinds of work in this house. It was custom milled trim and faux beams, beadboard, all this stuff. And I did the closets.
Oh yeah,
on the second floor. Not that one I showed you. That was my first like big closet. But this was just like, cleats with plywood shelves with hardwood fronts. And I just remember like trying to figure out how to fit these. And this house was from the, I don't know, maybe the 30s or something.
Yeah.
Granted, we were redoing it, but these closets weren't square. So I'm trying to figure out how to fit, 3/4 inch plywood shelves into these whacked out of square little, closets where the door is only 20 inches wide. So you're trying to get in there and fit it all in. And I don't have like bad memories about it being like, overwhelming or anything, but just that it was hard and that I had to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Well, from what we do now, my beginnings were very modest.
weren't they all for all of us? Yeah. For the most part.
Yeah. My first project that I remember was to build a TV stand. I was living in an apartment in San Francisco, and I wanted a stand to put my TV on, and it was like, remember those big ones with the tubes out the back and everything?
Yeah.
And the VCR underneath.
Oh, you were living large.
Yeah. So the design was essentially just a cube with a shelf. And I had to cut it all with a handsaw.
What kind of material?
Plywood, 3/4 inch plywood. Yeah, cut it all with a handsaw.
Oh man, cutting plywood with a handsaw sucks.
And I had no drill or screws or anything, all hammer and nails. And what I remember now is not knowing how important the back is.
Oh yeah, this thing just rack over and collapse.
Yeah. It didn't collapse, but I couldn't quite figure out why. It would sway from back and forth. So you had to put the TV on there in just the right spot.
Yeah,
I didn't realize the back is what would hold it all together.
Well, that's like your house. What's holding your house together is the plywood sheathing. Yeah. It's not the studs. Yeah, because without that plywood, your house is just going to fall over.
Yeah, so that was it. And I remember I painted it red.
What kind of plywood? Like finished plywood?
No, like
just like
CDX kind of plywood. Yeah. Oh man, that's something else. That's what I remember. So listen, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that was a good question. Another trip down memory lane.
Yeah. Here's one we got from Jimmy C. This came in through the website. If you guys didn't know, if you're listening and you don't have an Instagram or a YouTube or anything, you can always go to our website, greenestreetjoinery.com, and go to the contact page, or at the bottom of the homepage, there's an email thing where you can drop us an email or send us an email, greenestreetjoinery@gmail.com. If you have a question, you want to put it in that way. So Jimmy C wants to know, I do woodworking as a hobby that I love, and it's a stress reliever / mental break from my day job. What do you guys do as a mental break or stress relief from your job as business owners and woodworkers?
Yeah, it's a good question. To tell you the truth, we don't have a lot of stress lately.
No.
I think it's part of our outlook. Jeff and I are generally pretty positive, and I think that's just built into our DNA. If there's a problem facing us, we're more oriented toward just getting a solution.
Yeah.
And charging ahead.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of stress that way. And Jeff's pretty young, so he's still got a lot of energy. I'm sure, like when I was Jeff's age, I used to do woodworking even when I wasn't, working on the job. Now I play music. Mm-hmm. That's a great diversion. I get massage regularly. That's always a goodie. And I think, just trying to take things a day at a time without, that's not the 12-step one day at a time thing. It's just like,
read a lot of self-help books.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna help myself. That's like, that's like, if I broke my leg, I wouldn't set it myself.
Yeah, me neither.
So I think you're barking up the wrong tree if that's where you're looking for your mental health cues.
I don't pull my own teeth, do my own taxes, or self-diagnose my mental illness.
Yeah, I got a professional for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. Like, I really don't have a lot of stress. I get acute stress. I think that's a good way to put it. Like, there are times when I am stressed, but I'm not stressed all the time. Yeah. Which, if you are, probably reevaluate what you got going on.
Yeah,
I know it's easier said than done a lot of times, but we have a question later on that touches on like hobbies and stuff. So I guess I won't get too deep into that, but for me, it's just like sort of relax. I like alone time if I'm stressed. Like, I don't want anybody to bother me. I don't want my wife talking to me, or like I have a 2.5-year-old son. Like, if he's taking a nap or something, like just chill out, veg out on the couch. Maybe watch a YouTube video, or I'm a big YouTube watcher. Not necessarily woodworking, but all kinds of weird stuff. Read a book, whatever, something like that.
Yeah, I can second that. I need my alone time. Like even like an hour a day. Like after we close up the shop, take a shower, eat dinner, I like to spend a good hour alone. Mm-hmm. I usually take it up to about 7:30. I like watching Jeopardy. And some days I'm king of the world. Some days
I heard that. Ken Jennings has been doing a good job.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean,
I like Jeopardy, but I rarely catch it.
Yeah, so that's it. And then just try and take it easy.
Yeah, the key is to head the stress off and not allow. Don't allow yourself to get stressed.
Yeah.
We have a pretty I don't know. We've cultivated a stress-free environment.
That's it. I mean, that part takes work and maintenance, like any relationship, whether it's a marriage, a work relationship. Those things, they take time and energy and work to get the best out of them. And we've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, I mean, prime example, this cabinet that we're working on with the coffee bar. We had a little trouble getting the client to give us an okay on the hardware, which delayed us, and then the snowstorm hit. That cut a day off.
We're a week behind.
Yeah, then the hardware didn't show up because of the weather and whatever. UPS said F you, basically. So we're a week behind on this job. Yeah. Could we sit here and say, "Oh man, now we're going to lose out on a week's work," because there was not an extra week budgeted into?
No.
But
we built another project. Basically, we have small jobs. We just plugged one in, and we built it, and it's finished, and it's up on the racks. So
what am I going to stress about? We're going to make a little bit less money on this job than we would have otherwise. It's not the end of the world.
Right. That's exactly it.
So we're not losing money.
No.
At least we don't think so yet. So we'll forge ahead.
That's it. That's a good question, because it's always important to keep positive, and especially today's times, a lot of people are having a hard time keeping it together.
Yeah.
With the quarantine and COVID fears and all these other things. People have lost their jobs with the economy shutting down.
Yeah, lost family members to COVID.
Sure.
Don't be afraid to go talk to somebody.
That's it. All right. Here's another question. Every now and again, I'm surprised by something, but that's because, we've been doing things for so long, they become rote to us.
Yeah.
But we forget, like my not knowing that a back would hold up my TV cabinet.
Yeah.
We forget from where we came. So this is from Danny S., and he's one of our patrons. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, one of our newest patrons.
He says, I seem to have a hell of a time getting Undermount drawer slides to work well without a whole lot of fussing with them. Is there a specific process you guys use so they work on the first try? I've used Blum tandems and KV MUVs.
I think as long as you keep in mind like those couple specific things, it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
So you want to take your opening and minus 3/8 of an inch.
That's it.
We're talking about bloom tandems here because that's
For
what we
inset,
use.
yeah.
Yeah. It's the same for overlay too. Yeah. So with bloom tandems, I can't speak to the KVs. I have some experience with KVs in the past and Gras, and the Gras are the same as the bloom as far as I know in terms of this 3/8 inch. So let's say your cabinet opening is 24 inches. Your drawer box is going to be 23 5/8.
Yeah.
So when you subtract 3/8 of an inch from the opening, that's your drawer box width. Then you need to have a 1/2 inch. You're basically the sides, front and back of the drawer box need to stick out a 1/2 inch below the bottom.
Yeah.
So essentially you have a 1/2 inch. Wait a second.
Yeah, they
getting news from my wife on a house we put an offer.
Uh-oh. We interrupt this show for an important news bulletin. Jeff's looking to buy his first home. There's one for sale nearby.
Yeah, right across from my mother-in-law.
That might sound like a bad thing.
No, that's a good thing.
But it's a good thing.
Yeah, I like my in-laws. So yeah, you need a 1/2 inch all around on all four sides, from the bottom of the sides and front and back to the bottom of the bottom, if you understand what I'm saying.
The bottom of the drawer box, yeah.
And then you need the notch on the back, which you can get the specs on that from Bloom. It's basically, I don't know, 1 inch and 3/16 wide or something like that.
Yeah, and that's, it could be a little sloppy even and they still work fine. Those things don't have to be super snug on there. We use the ones for thick sides, the 3/4 inch sides.
Yeah.
So basically, you just notch out up to the side there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can find all the specific specs on the size of those notches on the Bloom website or on the KV website. And then for the little hole, there's a little pin that goes into the back of the drawer that keeps it from tipping out. The easiest way to do that is just set the drawer on the slides, press it in. It'll leave a little mark.
You get a little dent in
drill
there,
a 5/16 inch hole, whatever, halfway through the thickness of the back of the drawer, and you should be good.
Yeah,
the clips go, tight to the front and tight to the sides.
We use them exclusively, those Blooms, and we really love them because they're so easy to work with.
And they're made in North Carolina, or South Carolina.
So maybe, Danny, give us a shout. Let us know exactly what the problems are. Maybe there's just one little, measurement that you've missed or something like that. But basically, we build the drawer box and we set the bottom of the drawer box so that there's a 1/2 inch reveal. This is the hardest thing to describe.
It's hard to explain. So if you're looking at a cross section, it's a 1/2 inch and then your dado for the bottom.
Right.
Basically.
Right. Yeah, the slide needs that 1/2 inch to operate correctly.
Yeah, it's essentially like the thickness of that mechanism is a 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
And maybe where you're having issues is that if you're doing inset, maybe the sides of the cabinet aren't flush with then you need to pad things out flush to the opening of the face frame.
Yeah, or if the sides are towing in or out, it'll create friction.
Yeah.
So let us know what specific problems you're having, and I bet we could help them.
Yeah. Yeah, we have most of the stuff in the shop is side mount just because it's cheap. But we have a couple drawers that we just did with undermount, so we could show you.
We're Yankee thrifty.
Yeah.
In the shop, we don't get to experience all the splendor of the undermount.
Only sometimes, occasionally.
All right. You want to read the next one?
Yeah, this is from our buddy Patrick S. I've been chatting with him quite a bit. He's out in the UK. When I'm talking to people from England, I'm always like, what do I say? England, Britain, UK. He said England is what he would say first. Yeah. So he's out in England. Stokes & Co. Joinery on Instagram. He wants to know, on solid wood cabinet doors, etc., I'm keen to only do the shooting in by hand. Wondered if you could recommend the best plane for the job, and also whether a low-angle jack like the Veritas or Lee Nielsen would work well in that application. So I asked for some clarification because obviously there's a little bit of a nomenclature difference there.
Yeah.
He's talking about basically flushing up the face of a door where your rails and stiles meet. He doesn't want to use a sander there. He wants to do it all by hand with a plane. So what do you think?
I have that Lee Nielsen low angle jack, the big one. Mm-hmm. What's it, about 10 inches? Or
yeah, it's is it the number
62 and a half or 62? Yeah, I love that plane, and I've used it just for that purpose as well. It cuts great with the grain, against the grain, across the grain, end grain, face grain. I like it because it's got good control, a lot of bearing surface with that.
Yeah.
So that's something we could speak to concretely, we'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to be partial to the Lee Nielsen just because I just prefer their stuff. It's all subjective. A lot of guys like De Veritas, a lot of guys like the Lee Nielsen. Everything I've tried, I prefer the Lee Nielsen for the most part. Now, something that I've been, seeing a lot lately is really a low angle plane is no different than a standard angle plane unless you change the angle of your irons, because a low angle plane is bedded at 12 degrees and the blade is honed to 25 degrees. So you get 37 degrees. Does that make sense? Yeah. 37 degrees. And a standard bed plane is, what is it? 40 degrees, 45 degrees. I forget exactly what it is, but
it looks like about 45.
Yeah, you'd think that I would know this off the top of my head, but so really the angle of attack isn't much different if you're just using standard ground blades. You know what it is? Usually you're at 30 degrees, so you're at 42 degrees with a low angle, and you're at 45 degrees because it's beveled down. So the only angle that matters is the frog angle, which is 45. So on a standard plane, you're at 45. On a low angle plane with a 30 degree bevel, you're at 42.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can change the angle that you grind your blade and get different cutting angles. So you can get a higher angle and be able to plane, highly figured wood and stuff like that easier. But if you're not going to change the primary bevel, then really it's the same.
Yeah, I think that Lee Nielsen, if I remember, has a lower angle bevel on it too, on the blade. I think it really does.
On the 62.
Yeah, I think it really does cut it a substantially lower angle in that respect. But we love the Neil. In fact, I bought another Lee Nielsen plane today, even though it was back ordered. I paid for it, and my good faith was rewarded because it shipped out already. So that'll be tool of the week.
Yeah, I got my eyes on a couple things. Yeah, and you can get for like the Lee Nielsen, I think maybe just the 4 and the 3. You can get high angle frogs.
Yeah.
So you can go tip it up to like 50 degrees, or they have 3 standard, 1 in the middle, and then another higher angle. So
he's asking us if we think that plane is good, and we say yay, yes.
Yeah, if you have a smoother already, like a number 4, looking to just getting a high angle frog, and then you could, who wants to swap that out all the time? But
plus, it's always nice to have another plane.
Yeah,
if he's looking to get another plane, I don't know why you're standing in his way.
Just make sure you grind. Check the bevel angle.
Yeah. See, if he was local, he could come by and borrow it.
Yeah.
Because we're like that.
Oh, yeah. It's your plane. You can lend it all you want.
Well,
I ain't lending mine out. You come look at it, but I'm not giving it to you.
Select people, John Peters come by,
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He can be trusted. All right. So we'll move on. Testing the moisture content in your lumber. What do you find acceptable? That's asked by Ed Johns on Instagram.
Well, Ed, honestly, we don't test our wood. It is something that we've thought about, and I was actually looking, a couple months ago at some moisture meters, some, Wagner's and stuff, and
we had the inexpensive one here that I gave away.
Yeah, I mean that was even a good one, a Lignamat, I think it's called.
It was, it was $130 or $40.
Yeah, that was a pinned one. I'd like to get one that's pinless. Just because you can get better readings, deeper into the wood and stuff, and not put holes in it. Although we use rough lumber, so it's not that big of a deal. But, everything we're getting is kiln dried. You don't know when it was dried, how long it's been sitting around outside, because, none of these places are storing this stuff in inside, really. And then it sits out in our woodshed. So, like, some of the oak we just cut up, it's definitely reached equilibrium. So it's not 8% anymore. Yeah. It's probably
higher.
12%, 13%. But we bring it into the shop and we mill it in stages and we watch it. It's going to go into a home with unpredictable moisture levels anyway, because some people keep their windows open, some people keep them closed with the heat on blast all winter. So it's hard to tell. So you just need to keep in mind the construction methods and keep an eye on the wood as you're milling it. Pieces that move when you mill them are going to move more than pieces that don't. It's like ingrained in the grain of the wood when it moves.
Yeah, it's got some memory to it.
Yeah.
And we do quite a bit of work when we're surfacing the wood. We're very patient.
Yeah.
It's always 2 and 3 steps.
It's a time investment. But it pays dividends in the end.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's one of the reasons long ago I stopped getting S4S lumber, because there was always a percentage of the wood that I just couldn't use because it would have a twist or a cup and there was no margin for error there. I couldn't remove it without, diminishing the
unless you're buying 5/4 and turning it into 4/4. But at that rate, you might as well just buy rough.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we're pretty thorough with it. And I think the way you described it is best, instead of just relying on the mechanical number, because that's going to be affected with the climate and the change here in the shop and the client's home. Just go through the steps.
Yeah, it certainly can't hurt, but it's not a cure-all to just know, an actual number.
Yeah, that's good advice.
For example, we have a piece of cherry over here that, my God, it's got a 6-inch twist in one end.
Yeah, and a
huge bow.
Yep. And it came out of the same batch of lumber. It was just this one board.
Yeah, and everything was stickered up. It's not like it, never got surfaced.
It still thinks it's a tree.
That's why you buy extra.
That's right.
Got another question here from Dave M. Blugerson on Instagram. How often do you guys make lost cost prototypes for tricky designs like those feet? He's referring to the feet on over here next to me is the cabinet we're working on for the coffee bar. And it has these, I don't know what you would call them. They're kind of like a bun foot cabrio.
Is that like a
bracket foot? Yeah.
Yeah, it came out really nice.
Yeah, it's a splayed and raked foot with a design on it.
Yeah, a little chamfer.
Yeah.
A diminishing chamfer. It's got several design features. It's kind of, because the secretary itself is a little bit of an amalgam of styles. It's not a straight.
It's like a Victorian Gothic.
Yeah.
Campaign.
It's got a little bit of a mishmash of things going on to suit the client. And those took a few days to figure out and then a few days to execute.
Yeah, I probably got about 3.5 days in those 4 feet. But they look nice.
They're worth it. That's the thing. It's an investment in education, in all sorts of things. So
yeah, and you know what? From the get-go, we spec'd just feet that we were going to buy. That's what's on the drawing is a DXF file from a supplier.
Right.
Cherry feet. And I don't know. I was just like, well, we could just make them, right?
Yeah.
And again, we could have spent the $600 and bought them, or you take 4 days and make them.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
But now we have feet that we made and learned a little bit, and the next time we go to do them, it'll be that much easier.
It adds all the compound angles. It's all slow going because you got to figure everything out. It's not as straightforward as you think. Well, if this is at 10 degrees, well, then this other angle must be 80. It's there's some sort of mystery in there. But we do that all the time. Whether it's a prototype, whether it's a simple story stick, like for doors, I almost always will cut a couple of small scraps to substitute as the rails so that I could space out my doors, dry fit, and make sure that, once I cut the tenons in, that when the doors assemble, they're all going to be the right size. We do that almost every time.
Yeah, I mean, I made 2. So when we needed 4 feet. When I was making the blanks, I made 6, and then I had 2 to Jesus Christ, my Ring doorbell constantly. Let me just take this off. Made 2 extras. That way, I would have 2 to mess around with and figure out. Get my bearings, and they turned out completely not right.
One looked like a bad elephant foot.
Yeah.
But you learned what not to do.
Right. And that's the thing is, you got to work through the problem.
Yeah.
And, you finally end up somewhere.
And we didn't give up after that.
No, if I had to make another one, I would have made another one. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. For the Oak Chaise lounges, we did a little Two Stooges routine trying to bend the first piece.
Yeah.
Knowing full well it was going to be a comedy of errors. And what we did was that was like 2 or 3 times we did that with that first contraption.
Yep.
Until we said, all right, now we know what to do for the real job.
Exactly. Yeah, so we actually today, we have off to the side over here 2 6-inch PVC pipes, 8 feet long. The squirrels are battling today. I don't know why. There's some sort of aggression with the snow. So there, we have 2 pieces in one and 3 in the other of like 3.5 by 7 feet long by 1 inch white oak, quarter white oak. And we filled them up with water. So those are soaking. We'll soak those probably until, this time next week or maybe even the week after. We got to see when we have time. We have to make our bending form, and then we're going to steam those and bend them.
Yeah, that's it. So we got a helper in the shop now.
Yeah, our 2 pipes.
So it's not just the 2 of us anymore.
It's 2 of us and 2 pipes.
We got some chief help.
Yeah, they're standing up over there and some
soaking the pipes.
Made little brackets.
Yeah.
So I mean, the short answer is all the time. Yeah. Anytime we're gonna do something that we aren't sure about, we mock it up.
Yeah.
Mock it up before you fuck it up.
I love that.
That's what Wild Willie said.
Yeah. We mock up everything.
Yeah, reach out. Like when I was doing these feet, I was talking to Wild Willie and talking to what's his name, Taylor, still nappy out in Michigan. So I all the time, if I have a problem or we're scratching our heads, I'll shoot a message or send a video out to somebody on Instagram and say, "What the hell would you do here?"
Yeah. That's the thing about the community. It's very generous.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Got one from our patron Dave here.
Oh yeah. What's he's asking, what type of feather boards do you use? Also, have you used any mag switch products? And if so, what do you think about them? Dave M.
We have like a mishmash of just random feather boards and shop made feather boards.
Yeah. The typical plastic ones.
Yeah, there's like a bench dog one in there, and then maybe one that maybe came with like the bandsaw or something.
Yeah.
So they're just regular old plastic feather boards. And then some, ones that you make yourself, which are just as good, I'd say. Yeah. Sometimes a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because you get a little more flex. So you can, I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but I feel like you can get some more pressure because those plastic ones never seem to, like I want those things bending when I'm pushing up against
the plastic ones are more like, they're so rigid.
Yeah.
At least the bench dog
like
one.
the fingers are short.
Yeah.
Although I am the guy that breaks the wooden feather boards constantly, so maybe I'm going a little too tight.
We are lusting after the mag switch feather boards. We want to try those. It's an expensive entry into it. We just haven't Haven't been able to pull the trigger on that yet, but we will.
Yeah, for like $100, you get 2 of them, which, I mean, it's really not that bad. Even compared to the price of regular, what do featherboards cost? $20 a piece or something?
If we're looking for hold downs and frictions and things like that, if we don't have it here already, we generally just make it.
Yeah, and we don't use them all that often.
Yeah. But they do look really sharp, and we want them.
Oh, yeah. It's on the list.
You're going to have to ask somebody else, Dave. I'm sorry about, first-hand impressions.
Yeah.
But
actually, John Peters just started working with Mag Switch a little bit. So he's I think he may have already put out a video, or maybe he's preparing to. See if we could get our hands on one of those. Yeah, I think he's maybe has a discount code. I'm not sure.
Yeah, check that out. So, anybody out there, if you've had experience with the Mag Switch products, chime in.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's our next question. Do either of you work on a lathe? What type of projects or hobbies do you like to do in your off time? That's from Alan M. Misfit Woodworking on Instagram.
Yeah. I worked on a lathe in high school, and that was the last time. So I'm 58 going on 59. That tells you how long ago it was. Started in my basement.
Was it like foot powered?
Yeah. You ever see the guy? Well, yeah, he steps up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No, this one was actually, when I think about wood shop and metal shop back then, like, because I was a teacher, I can't imagine letting kids loose. Like, I was in metal shop. That's why they don't do it anymore. We were arc welding, oxyacetylene welding, and the little shit that I was like, I would go by, like, people would leave their station, I'd go and like heat up their project. They come back,
weld the wrench to the table.
They'd think it was cool. They go to pick it up,
Oh my God. So you ruined it for people like me, because when I was in school, shop was gone. I got rid of it.
Yeah. So we used to do all that stuff. Anyway, that I digress. I started in my basement. I had just enough room for the few tools I had. And so early on, I made the decision that a lathe wasn't going to be part of my skill set. And I would, if I needed any round things, anything turned, I could purchase them, because they're all readily available, even way back in the old days.
Yeah.
And, it's just, that was the decision. And I carry that forward in my design thinking too. Of course, not throwing lots of turned objects into the designs. And, Craftsman Prairie style stuff doesn't really have a lot of that either.
Yeah, and like me personally, I'm not a big fan of the aesthetic of things that are turned. Mm-hmm. There's certainly things that are turned that I do like, but for the most part, I like more straight lines and stuff. So
yeah,
staked furniture, as in like chairs and stuff that have legs that go through tenons that are wedged and stuff like that. You can do most of that by hand without a lathe. You turn those tenons with a lathe a lot of times. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it hasn't been something that we've really needed. Not to say that I wouldn't love to have one and learn how to use it, because I would. It's just another thing, as we say, to have in the quiver. But just not something that we really need. No, we could easily get by without it, and we're always trying to figure out how to jam another tool in here as it is. Yeah. Yeah, we have another tool coming that'll go over here, the shaper. Mm-hmm. So we're already jamming something in here. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no where would we put it over there. I don't think it's gonna fit. I mean, this area in the middle of the shop is where we stage all the things that we're building. We have to like push everything out of the way, so we could do the podcast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it'd be fun if we had a big shop and we had the time and the inclination, I think, is already there to try and, do stuff. Yeah. I guess, we don't talk about it, so it's obvious curiosity. So there's your answer, Alan. We don't. So what about projects and hobbies in your off time? Well, hobbies is definitely music, performing music, playing music, writing music, making solid body instruments. Mm-hmm.
because there's no money in that. So that's a hobby.
Yeah.
Speaker cabinets. Was for a long time, I was really heavily into the physics of subwoofers and designing subwoofers, tapped horns and all that other cool stuff. So yeah, those are my kind of hands-on hobbies for woodworking.
Yeah, I'm a big fisherman. I don't get to do it as much anymore, while running a business and having a kid and being married and all that stuff. But I do.
Make it sound like that's
No, I'm not bitter about it. I just don't get to fish as much as I used to.
I want to go on one of those fishing trips, and I don't even fish. It sounds so nice.
Yeah, I like to fish. I like to fish in the bay is right here. The ocean is obviously right next to that. I like to fish in rivers, salmon, steelhead, stuff like that, largemouth bass, whatever. Any kind of fishing I like to do. I did some hunting growing up, not as much anymore because I don't have the access to the land and stuff. So I'll get out maybe once a year to hunt. Aside from that, woodworking is both my job and my hobby. So it's like all woodworking all the time. When I'm not here, I'm, either doing something related to the business, editing a video or the podcast or whatever, or, reading or doing something else with woodworking.
Yeah. I mean, I started as a hobbyist, so I never gave up woodworking as a hobby, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Rob's house is here. This is part of Rob's house. It's a separate building, but like if I lived in Rob's house, I'd be out here 7 days a week.
That's right.
Dicking around because
it'd be a little playpen over in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just one by one just be building different things for the house and trying new things and hand cutting dovetails and whatever.
Yeah, it's a nice space for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
This is a great question. Mm-hmm. It kind of made me laugh a bit. And it's from Jeff, CT Vader, 1977 on Instagram. And he's asking, how do you prevent a lack of confidence or knowledge keeping you from trying something? Can you tell why I think that's funny?
It's a pretty simple answer. Just don't let it prevent you.
We don't ever let lack of knowledge or experience or confidence stop us.
I'd say the lack of confidence and knowledge actually propel us to try things.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole fun in it, is trying to do something you've never done before.
In fact, like going back to the bending thing, we knew that was going to be a failure going into that first experiment. Right. We just wanted to find out where the failure point would be, what the specifics of the failure would be. So that's the thing, don't get hung up on it not going well. That's why I think we're not caught up in that cycle. Right. We don't really care if it doesn't go through on the first take.
No, for the most part, we know it's not going to go right. Right. Like I had people that messaging me when we were doing that bending. They're like, "You got to do this," and it's like, I know a lot of that stuff because obviously I did some reading up on bending before. But it's like we're trying to push the limits of what we're doing to see. Okay. We only steamed it for an hour and 15 when really we should have done an hour and a half. Okay, that was wrong. So you equip yourself with all of the things you did wrong the first time when you go into it to do it for real.
Oh, yeah. We could see, and the jig was on a table with wheels and it was rolling all over the place. And the wood, we could tell, wasn't wet enough.
Yeah, I mean, you learn way more from your failures than you do from your successions. That's not successes. Yeah. So don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Just prepare for it. Just know that it's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of those like cliches and posters and everything with little kittens hanging on limbs that talk about how you should keep pushing forward past the idea of failure.
Hang in there.
Yeah. But the truth is, you don't really learn as much if you don't try.
Yeah.
So there you go. We're it's not that we're overly confident, but we never let that stop us. We know things aren't going to go well a lot of the time.
If it was easy, it wasn't worth doing. So, like Nike, just do it.
What about those times where we're just totally shocked because it did go well, like the first time? We're like, can you believe that just happened?
Then usually it bites you in the ass because then you do it and then something gets effed up.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't duplicate it. You know, we were lucky the first time.
Yeah. We got one from our buddy Randall M in Chicago, RM Crafts and Customs on Instagram. He's a repeat offender on the podcast. What are your opinions on wooden screw vices? I'm building a new workbench and I'm not sure which vice to look into.
Well, first off, Randall, we can't complain about our winters here. I had a friend who lived in Chicago for a while, and I went to visit him. It was like late November, and it was like another level of cold. Like I didn't know cold could feel colder. And I was like, how do you live here?
Yeah.
You know, the wind blowing off the lake and everything. Oh my God.
I've seen like the ice piled up on the shore.
Yeah.
What is that? That's Lake Michigan?
Yeah. We have steel, I guess they call those Acme screw thread vices, right? We don't have any wooden threaded vices in the shop, do we?
No. Yeah, I don't know what you would call them. Just like, it's not, is it considered it's not a Moxon vice?
No, I think they call those screws.
I think Acme thread is just like the spacing and stuff. Like it's whatever 6 turns per inch or whatever.
I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're just like regular. Like you have a Scandinavian style tail vise. I think that's considered. My tail vise is just the same as like the face. Right. The face vise.
It's still powered by that one metal.
Screw. It's just a screw with 2 guide rods, basically.
Yeah.
I would say that, and this is coming from a place of zero experience, a wooden screw vise would be like, you know, driving a car with no power steering. Like, what's the point? Because cars exist with power steering. So don't you want the power steering? Like,
is there an advantage, or is it nostalgia, or what is it?
I can't see any advantage because, I mean, wood is a natural substance. Not that metal's not, but, you know, wood moves and stuff and requires.
I guess they've been around for the longest time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We don't know why one would choose wood over metal. I guess that would be the first question.
Yeah. In terms of what vices to look into, you know, I've heard a lot of good things about the Veritas. What do they call it? The twin.
Oh, the twin screw?
Twin screw vice.
Yeah. With the chain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bench Crafted. They make some beautiful like leg vices and stuff. H&T Gordon. They're an Australian company. They make some really nice stuff. Again, you could spend more on the vices than you can on the entire bench. So that's probably the advantage to wooden screws. You can get the tap and die and even make it yourself for probably less than it would cost to.
That's what I was going to say. Most of the really nice wood screw stuff, you see, it's craftsmen making their own. my wife texting Jeff. She knows we're podcasting. What has she got? Groceries in
3
there?
bananas for my son. I got more bananas at home. I knew what to do with.
Oh God.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, Randall, I have zero experience with wooden screw vices, but
I'd like to hear why he's interested in the wooden screw vice.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen guys like what's the guy's name? He's an English guy. He makes dovetail, you know, the magnetic dovetail guides, kind of like the Katz Moses, but I think he did it first. What the hell is that guy's name? super skilled woodworker. He's built some vices, some benches with wooden screw vices. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's a tough call.
It's a good question, though. For the next question we got here, this makes me think of that last kitchen job. For inset cabinetry, do you make one face frame to cover all the boxes, or does each cabinet get a face frame? That's from Terraform Woodworking Co. on Instagram.
Well, what we actually do is we don't build individual cabinet boxes. We build just big ass cabinets.
Yeah, we build the biggest cabinet we can, so there's the least amount of styles.
Right. So we might build a cabinet that's 60 inches wide.
Right. That kitchen had 2 of them.
Yeah. No, 4 of them.
That's right. The uppers were also one cabinet.
The entire stove elevation was 4 cabinets.
That's right.
With a stove and a hood in the center. So there were 2 base cabinets and 2 uppers that were 60 inches wide.
Yeah.
All singular box with partitions and one face frame.
But they install really well.
Yeah.
You know, we don't like that double style thing.
No.
You know? That's...
no, to me it screams like store-bought cabinet.
Yeah.
Because they're made to be mixed and matched. And okay, we're going to do an 18 and then a 24 and then another 18.
Yeah.
We just build a 60-inch cabinet and then we split it up however makes sense.
The times where I've had to do that, I'll like maybe add a little detail where the 2 styles meet, like a chamfer that goes part of the way up, stops from the top and the bottom. So it looks more determined than just 2 cabinets butting up to one another. But we try to avoid that whenever we can.
Yeah, it makes install easier in the way that you're just hanging one cabinet. Granted, you need more
guys.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, but
then there's no seams.
Yeah, once the doors are all off.
Yeah,
because we're using those Bloom hinges. You know, they just clip in and out. For the most part, that's what we're doing. And then you just hoist it up. Put a cleat on the wall.
Yeah. If there's going to be a backsplash, just put a dead man on the wall and just slap it on there.
Yeah.
You know, you could scribe in your panels on the sides and your face frame on the side.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. I mean, it makes it super easy and clean.
Yeah. I think if you've been doing it the way where, every cabinet has a face frame, you'd be really pleased to switch it up and go with a larger box with fewer styles.
That's one of the things I hated the most out of because I was a kitchen installer for Tom's shop. And they were all frameless. You slap all these cabinets together, and then if you were put a line on them, they're not straight on their own.
It's like a serpent's back.
Yeah, one is towed in and out, and just brutal. And when the machines aren't set up, the getting them flush on the top because maybe the rail is slightly high on one side and low on the other. It's easier to do all that stuff here and then just place one large cabinet.
Yeah, it's easier for the countertop guy. It's easier for everybody.
I'm getting pestered today.
Yeah, that thing is going off.
I thought I muted the computer. It's over there dinging. At least it's on this time. My God.
I'll pick up this next question while you handle the fan mail. Can you give some good, in-depth info about the slider attachment on the saw stop? I have a Shop Fox table saw, and I'm thinking of adding a slider to it. A true sliding table saw is not really what I need. That's from Justin D., known as Justin De Palma on Instagram. Yeah, we could talk about it. Go.
Yeah, I don't know how in-depth we can go. It's a pretty simple setup. So this saw stop sliding table attachment, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's made specifically for the saw stop. I don't see why it wouldn't work on another table saw.
I think you might have to like
drill some holes.
Yeah, drill holes, maybe cut the fence tube or whatever, but maybe not even.
Yeah, because it's laid out on the like wing attachment holes. Like I don't know if did we not put a wing on, or did you could leave this wing off. Yeah, but we didn't omit a wing, right?
No.
So the holes, the holes line up with the saw stop. But if you have a Shop Fox, Grizzly makes one that's like what they call like a universal sliding attachment. So it'll work with that because the Shop Fox stuff and the Grizzly is the same thing basically. So it just attaches with a couple screws to the wing of the table saw. It has two legs that go down. It's got a ball bearing carriage that the thing rides on. It has a cross-cut fence attached to that. I mean, it works nice. We use it a lot, all day. I mean,
what do you say are the good? Let's go over the good points and maybe some of the not so good points of it.
I'd say the good points are it's got a large reference surface in terms of the fence. So rather than like a miter gauge where the fence is only 18 to 24 inches wide, this thing it's actually, you see it back here on the thing? It's I don't know what, 40 inches wide.
Yeah. It's beefy too.
Yeah, it's bigger. Heavier duty. It's got nice flip stops on it.
And we had a pretty good miter gauge we still have it. We don't use it anymore, but we weren't going from just like a simple little handheld one with a piece of wood on it.
No, it was a Jessom Miter Excel 2.
Yeah.
One of the other advantages about this is it has the locking point is not the same as the pivot point. Like with the miter gauge, you pivot it and lock it sort of in the same place. So this has it's like hard for me to articulate. It has a miter bar that goes into a slot, and then it has a handle with a smaller miter bar connected to it that goes into an adjacent slot, and that's how you lock it down. Yeah. So it's getting locked in sort of 2 points.
Yes.
Instead of being locked just at one. So it's definitely a little more rigid. Aside from that, I'd say the downsides are that it doesn't come on and off as easily as like a regular miter gauge. So you have to back out 2 set screws and pull it out.
Because it's locked in there pretty solid.
Right, because it's attached to the part of the table that moves.
Yeah.
So there's a fixed part and then there's a part that moves. So it's attached to the moving table.
Yeah.
But really it's just what I did is I epoxied a magnet to the Allen it's a screwdriver with an Allen head, and it sticks right on the leg there. So you just loosen up, pull it out. I mean, it's quick.
My bench is right there. I mean, we don't have a big shop. So usually if I'm not working near the saw, it goes right on my bench there. And
we're sticking on the bandsaw over here, or if we know we're going to be cutting a lot of plywood and we need it out of the way, we'll just stash it away for the day or whatever.
Because that's the thing. If the way it works is in its installed position, it's only about 2 inches away from the blade. So if you're going to do a rip, you can only really just trim something. Yeah, unless
you can loosen it and turn it. It swings to,
close to about 45 degrees.
50 degrees, I think it says. Yeah, so if you swing it to 50, I think you get 8 inches on the left side of the blade.
Yeah.
So you could, rip something with 8 inches extra.
Right.
But if you're taking a 48-inch piece of plywood, you want a 24-inch rip, you got to take it off.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is depending on which way you install it, we have it installed flush with the back of the saw. You can install it kicked back, but obviously then you have this ear sticking out. So we get about 39 inches, I think, of cross-cut capacity from the blade to the fence. You get 48 with the other way.
The other thing I've done, and I think you've done it too, is you can pull the sled all the way back and kind of stand in between that gap.
Yep.
So it takes a little bit of getting used to as far as the encumbrances, I'll say. It can be in the way at times, but by far it's worth having.
Yeah.
The way it glides, the cuts, the repeatability.
It makes nice square cuts. I mean, we haven't messed around with it. It's got in the detent, it's got like a little bit of slop when it's not locked down. But if you have the cursor in the center of the line and then you tighten it down, I mean, it cuts square. I check when I'm, if I'm cutting a bunch of door parts, let's say I'm cutting all the styles, I cut the first piece, you cut one side and then obviously flip it to your stop. I'll just check if it's square. If it's square, you just go ahead and start cutting.
Yeah. A lot of times what I'll do is if I'm being the guy that puts it back on, I'll just grab one of our straight framing squares. Yeah. And I'll just check it up against the blade just so I don't screw you when you go to use it. Yeah. Assume it's on there.
Yeah, like I always assume that things are not square or not, you know what I mean? Like you're better off assuming that everything is out of calibration.
Yeah, but just being me and you here, it's always easier to just kind of just do the extra thing so the next guy doesn't come along.
Yeah.
Not thinking, screw up his part. Is there anything else we could tell him? I mean, if he's thinking about it. So he's thinking about adding a similar sliding table to his Shop Fox table saw.
Yeah.
If it's as good as this one, I woit say do it.
Yeah, we looked at the, if it's the Grizzly one you're looking at, we looked at that for the Delta before we got the saw stub.
This one's got a much bigger surface that slides, I think. It might be similar.
I think the saw stop one's probably about 3 times the price.
Yeah. Yeah. At least double, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
That's not to say it's any better.
No.
It's just it's got the name attached to it.
Saw stop is there. They get a premium for the saws because of the technology. So, they can kind of bump up everything that goes with their saws.
It's like the Festool accessories.
Yes, exactly. The tools are what the technology and the engineering go into. Yeah. But the dust attachment shouldn't be twice the price.
So we hope that helped Justin.
Yeah.
Here's one. I'm going to let you go first because I need to think on this one.
All right.
This is again from Aaron Lyle from Matawan, New Jersey. He wants to know, what project do you think you learned the most from and why?
Wow. I think it's probably going to be this chaise lounge thing because I never bent anything. Yeah. And this isn't, throwing a couple of thin pieces of wood into a steam bender. This is 1-inch quarter sawn white oak. So this is going to, be really a process where, there is catastrophic failure is always just around the corner.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would say it's been such a cumulative learning process over the years. I can't recall except when I cut my first dovetail. Not knowing how to put it together. I cut my first dovetails by hand because I didn't have a jig, and I got a book out of the library and I'm cutting them. So I do, one side's got these compound cuts on it, and the other side they're kind of straight cuts. So I'm looking at them like, how does this go together?
Now what?
Yeah, exactly. But it's going to be this bending, I think, is going to, even after all this time, it's going to be the most profound learning experience for me.
Yeah, it's hard for me to put my finger on like the most, what job I learned the most from. One that definitely sticks out is the curved hood I built.
Yeah,
for that kitchen in Midtown.
Again, more complex shapes and everything.
Yeah, so like this was a kitchen I built when I was working at Tom's shop, and I built the hood just from like the architect's drawings, like no shop drawings, anything, with just some like radius. All I had was radius and width and height specs, basically. So when you're making a curved hood, it was curved on the sides and the face. Yeah. So those corners are actually ellipses. So I had learned all this stuff about that, how the angles aren't what you think they are, and the radius,
like the feet.
The radius of the corner is not the same as the radius of the face and the side. And then just how to granted it was made out of MDF, so it was like a laminated 1/8 inch MDF like several times, and I built all the ribbing and stuff. So that was a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
And it had a seamless plumb transition and corbels with a floating shelf, and so it was a pretty complicated build. And they just kind of left me to my own devices, which that's how I preferred it anyway. But it was good to just figure it all out on my own.
Yeah, those shapes, especially at the corners, it's always tricky, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how that comes together.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. We had this question. Generally, we don't really read these in advance. Well, Jeff has to type them up so he sees them.
Even then, I don't really.
Yeah, we don't pay too much attention to it. But Jeff asked me this earlier today, and I'd never heard of this. This is a question from Nathan T., Tree of Life Woodworking on Instagram. Nathan asks, do you ever use the rip and flip method to have all straight grain? I'm going to say I don't think I ever have, because I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so actually I had to clarify with Nathan because I hadn't. When I think rip and flip, like that's when you're cutting a thin piece and you like cut it halfway and then pull it out of the saw and flip it around and finish the cut, so you don't have to get so close to the blade. So rip and flip is, he said, if you take like 8/4 flat sawn, rip it, and then you basically edge join the faces so that you're essentially making quarter sawn or rift sawn stock out of flat sawn in little 1 3/4, or you could do it with any width stock, any thickness stock rather. So basically creating your own quartered or rift glue up out of plain
So
sawn.
that's what he's looking for, is a quarter or rift appearance on the face of this
right
board.
Like, so Nathan built this curved headboard, imagine like basically like half of a cylinder, and he used this technique to make it all straight grain.
I see.
When he glued it up.
Yeah, I guess I could see something like that, because you're going to have to glue up like a coopered sort of thing to get that curve,
right?
But for us here, we're always doing this dance between time and I don't want to call it profitability, but business sensibility. We can't spend forever.
It's mostly just budgeting for the client. Like,
right.
The client's budget only allows us to take so much time for the job, to complete the job.
We got 100 hours that we're being paid for. Now, we'll generally spend 110 or 20 or 30 hours, but we can't spend 200 hours on and get paid for 100 and stay in business and still send little Hunter to college one day.
No, he's paying for his own fucking college. Just like I did. I'm still paying for it.
Come on, Bernie. But that's it. So it takes more time, it sounds like, to do it that way than to just buy the material the way we want it to look in the first place.
Yeah, like you said, like if you were doing something like a segmented curved thing, a Cooper door, it makes sense because you're going to have to cut segments anyway.
Right.
But if we were doing something like a panel, we're just going to buy quartered or rift sawn stock.
Yeah, well, that's what we do. I mean, the cost is in our labor. The material is a fraction of that.
Yeah, I mean, quartered white oak, let's say we're paying $7 a board foot. Flat is got to be, I don't know, $5.
Yeah.
So it's only 20% more.
There's no way
30%
we can
more.
make that up.
No.
It's much cheaper to just buy it.
And there's a lot more room for error there. Trying to glue up a whole panel of
smaller pieces.
Yeah, how many, if you're building a door, how many glue joints you have there?
Yeah, there's definitely a larger margin for error. So
and more waste.
Yeah. The answer is no, we haven't. I don't know if we're missing something. It sounds like our methods are suitable for us.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit more about it. I mean, if it's a method with a name, I suppose there are more people doing it.
Yeah. He said that Matt Kenny, what's his name? Matt Kenny, I think. MK Woodworks on Instagram. He's a big account who makes some really nice stuff. He said that he uses it a lot.
Yeah. Something that I've seen, like, in the Stickley books, where he would take quarter sawn and miter it.
Yeah.
So that you're getting it, and so you're not getting that ugly, cathedral on one side of
a leg. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see that working in an instant like that, where it was similar.
Right.
All right. I think we have
a write-in question.
Final question.
This came in like a I think, Wednesday night last week or something, so I almost missed it. What would be your magnum opus as a woodworker to define your legacy? Nick Trayer on Instagram. Man, to just think that we didn't even have a legacy.
I know. Seems a little ridiculous to answer.
I mean, I would say I would love to do like a whole home, like a Greene and Greene kind of did, or like, you know, some people had Nakashima in their whole house. That to me would be to be able to curate an entire home with a client and have it, you know, stand the test of time and somebody else buys it and all these furnishings stay with the house and something like that. To me, that would be my magnum opus. That's
funny because that's my exact same answer. Because I think of like Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah.
And that is it. It's like, here's the Smith family. This is their house. I don't want to be, and not to be wasteful, I don't want to be constrained by time or money. Mm-hmm. I want to do the job, and whatever it takes, it takes.
Yep.
Not to be self-indulgent at all. Just to
have the carte blanche to just
right. And that's exactly it. It suits the environment. It suits the people, and it's heirloom in the truest meaning of it. It goes with that house for generations and generations.
Yeah, like a Thorson house. Or,
yeah.
You know, something that people 100 years from now go there and say, yeah, this is the Greene. This is the Greene Street house. You know, they spent 20 years, you know, making all this shit.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, think about how long it would take to do something like that. Because you'd have combination of built-ins and ingle nooks and chairs and dining tables and cabinetry and bedroom furniture and studies.
Yeah.
And I mean,
all these little practical kind of things.
Window treatments.
Yeah.
Front doors, back doors, interior doors.
And then you really, you know, get to pick and choose what do you want to do? I want to build a thing with all Cooper doors. So, okay, so we're going to do it. We're going to put it in this house. So, you know, it opens you up to be able to do anything that you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to build something that has all hand-cut joinery? Okay, well, go ahead.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Our magnum opus.
Yeah.
So if you're listening...
and you got boatloads of cash... I'm talking boatloads.
You have a good 10, 12 years to spare. You know, you got to be patient.
I was flattered. Our clients who we're building this coffee bar for, and we'll be building them a Dutch door and maybe some more stuff too. They said that if they had won the Powerball a couple weeks ago, that they were going to put us on retainer for 5 years.
Yeah. That's a awfully nice thing to say.
Yeah. I said that's the next best thing to us actually winning.
That's right. That's right, because that's all we want.
Yeah.
That was a nice question.
Yeah.
You know, it's always good to dream, and doing this podcast is almost a little bit like that. It's a little ethereal that people give 2 cents what we have to say and listen, and let alone patrons.
Yeah. How about this? All of you out there, what's your magnum opus? Write in, and then if we get enough, we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would really like to encourage our listeners to do is
reach out.
Yeah, reaching out and sharing with us more of their own stories and things, so we could pass it along.
Yeah.
So we're not just answering questions, but you know, we're spreading the good news and the info from you guys out there too.
Yeah. Yeah, and like especially stuff to follow up any of these questions.
Yeah.
If we told you to do something and you did it and then totally screwed you up, or
yeah, that's right. You
guys said to.
You know what else I'm curious about? Do we have any female listeners?
Yeah, I don't. According to like the analytics that I look at, I don't think there's any.
So we're like the Rush of of podcasts.
I'm cool with that.
no male fan, no female fan.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just cool with being the Rush.
Yeah,
because I like Rush.
I like Rush too. There was a long time there where they they didn't sell any tickets to girls. That's for sure.
Today's Tom Sawyer.
That busted them open, broke through. So I'd be curious if there's a female listener out there. Write in.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you.
We won't share your name or information with any of these savage men that also listen. Because
we're pretty open minded here. I mean, we had a woman working in the shop.
Yeah, we talked one day about because I had the helper, the apprentice, who was a woman, and she was way better than any man.
Oh yeah. And with our small bits of experience we've had with women in the field, they really outpowered the men. Yeah. Forget about everything else. They put the men to shame in basically all aspects. Yeah. The people that worked for us anyway.
Well, that brings us to thoughts on the beer of the week.
Yeah, what do you think?
It's good. I didn't get really any macadamia nut, to be honest.
No, not me either. I was a little disappointed in that, but it has what you might call a nutty flavor.
Yeah.
But not in the way you'd think.
No, and macadamia is a pretty distinct flavor. Like, you're not going to get it confused with something else. But it was a good, brown ale. I do like this kind of grippy label.
Yeah, it's like grip tape on the side of the can.
You can hear it on there. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I wish it was colder. I don't know whether we got hot snow out there or something, but...
Tool of the week in the description and on the website?
Yeah, probably not on the website anymore. We have the Amazon storefront on there.
Yeah.
If it's going to be anywhere, it'll be on that. But definitely be down in the description. Just a lot of work to just add all these things to the website all the time.
Yeah. The websites... I mean, websites... It's not passe yet. But there's different...
It's a funnel to funnel people other places.
Yeah, like I think we got a call from the website today. Was that?
Yeah, for a door.
Mm-hmm. Doors seem to be...
Bedford Stuyvesant.
Yeah, we might have to be reaching out to the Doormeister.
Yeah, Tim. True trade.
For a little bit of help.
Building a door that you already built. not replacing one that you built, but one that looks just like
similar.
One that you built.
Yeah. We could definitely use some pointers there.
Yeah, you could advise us on the logistics of just being there and parking and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. The joinery around the arch at the top.
Oh yeah,
everything.
So yeah, as always, check out our YouTube page, subscribe, go to our Instagram, give us a follow, shoot us a message, say what's up. If you want to help support the podcast, you can become a patron. So every week we do a after show for the patrons. We'll do about we almost did an hour last week.
Yeah.
So it's like you get like a whole additional podcast basically.
We must have had a lot on our minds.
Yeah, we went like 50 minutes.
It never seems like it.
I know. And we want to thank our gold tier patrons, David Murphy, Manny Sirianni, Eric, Dustin Fayer, Adam Pothast, and our newest David, I'm going to say Schumacher. It's spelled like shoemaker. Let me know if I'm saying that wrong.
Yeah, because we've been debating Dustin's last name for the longest time.
No, it's Fayer.
Yeah.
Well, he said it's like mayor.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Depends on how you say mayor.
I say mayor.
Well, that's wrong. I say potato. That's not how you say it.
How about an informal poll for the listeners?
Yeah, okay.
How do you pronounce the word of Mayor?
Mayor.
How do you say it?
I can't think of it. Mayor.
That's not far from what I say. I say
mayor.
I say mayor.
No, that's completely different. That's a whole nother word. Mayor. Mayor. E-R, like an E-R.
How would you spell it the way I say it?
M-E-H-R.
M-E-H, mayor.
Or M-A-R-E.
M-A-R-E.
Like a horse, like
mare.
A female horse.
Yeah, that's how, right. That's a mare.
Mare.
There's not two syllables in that word.
Mare.
Do you see how you put two syllables in there?
No. Mare.
All right.
Mare. Mayor.
All right.
Oh, you know what's something we should bring up? We talked about this on the Patreon. Once all this COVID BS is over with, we'd like to do like a meetup.
Oh yeah, we can't. Wait.
Local to us. So if you're interested, let us know. We're in Monmouth County, New Jersey. We'd probably be doing it in the Middletown area. I obviously can't say when because we have no idea what's going on with the vaccines. Hoping to get our vaccine soon. We're tier 1C. Yeah, and they're on to 1B.
We're waiting.
And we just signed up on another list, hoping to get it off of that one. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll be guinea pigs for the rest of the folks out there.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to lose.
That's the way. We have nothing to lose. Yeah. At this point, come on.
Yeah, been lucky enough to not get sick thus far.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody. Be well out there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating.
Tune in next week. Maybe we'll have our new machines and we'll be able to talk about them a little bit.
Yeah,
they're getting loaded onto the truck as we speak.
And soon we'll be able to have guests again, too.
Yeah. Yeah, once we get our vaccine, then we can definitely have guests.
Well, back to the guests. Yeah. We're looking forward to that. You can't...
Yeah, we got Tim, definitely. Ryan, who just had a little baby daughter. Ryan Massey, congratulations. Tim from True Trade, those guys will be on. Definitely want to have John on again.
Oh, yeah.
Keith at 2-Bit. Probably Wild Willie if he's willing to make the drive again. We got all kinds of people.
Manny
like
back.
Yeah, definitely have Manny on again. We'll have to do a 2-part for that one because we went over 3 hours last time. We have to take off the whole day.
I know, it was dark out.
I know.
Last time.
That was our first Patreon after show.
Yeah.
And I think we did an hour for that.
I know.
It was like a 4 hour. It was like we started at 2 and then it was like 6:30 when we left.
I think we were warming up for 40 minutes too.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen Manny in a while, so that's why.
Yeah, and hoping to be collaborating with Manny on a project. Waiting to hear from the designer.
Yeah.
Our meeting went last week. Trying not to pester her too much, but waiting to hear. Anyway.
All right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Ciao.